I'd like to bring the August 31st special meeting of the Tuolumne County Planning Commission to order. Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have a little bit of commission business to get by to start with. Any reports from any of the commissioners or staff? Commissioner Rye?
Yes, I would like to report that I did accept an invitation graciously offered by Blue Mountain Minerals to come out, take a look at the property, look at the project, and discuss the general nature of what was proposed.
Any other reports? Staff have any report? Staff, any report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I just want to note for the record that this is a special meeting of the Planning Commission and that Commissioner John Latore is participating by telephone, which is allowed under the Brown Act, and any votes that are taken by your commission this evening will be by roll call, and that is because he is participating by telephone. And I would ask the commissioners to please speak into your microphone so that Commissioner Latore will be able to hear everything that's said. With that, I would just like to advise you that we do anticipate having an item, at least one item for your meeting on September 16th. And also to let you know that County Counsel's office has scheduled ethics training. That will be on Friday, November 6th. There are two opportunities to participate. There's a session from 10 to 12 in the morning and an afternoon session from 2 to 4. If you're interested in attending, you can let me know and we'll let the County Counsel's office know, or you can contact them directly if you'd like. But this is an excellent training to do it live rather than, you can also do it on the internet on the FPPC's website. But again, we certainly recommend that you come to the live training. Our land use attorney, Carlin Drivdahl, is here tonight, and she leads that course, and it's always fun as well as informative. That's all I have to report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. With that, our other point of business is approval of the minutes of the meeting of August 19th.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
A motion, I have a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? None, I'll call a question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so ordered.
No, we need to do this by roll call.
Oh.
Oh, roll call, that's right.
And, Mr. Chairman, who was the second? There was a tie.
Baker.
Commissioner Baker, okay.
All right. Call a roll, please. Going to call a roll.
Oh, I call, Commissioner Latore?
I abstain.
Abstain, okay. Commissioner Rye?
Aye.
Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Plan?
Aye.
Commissioner Frazier?
Aye.
And Commissioner Presbala?
Aye.
Did I pronounce it right?
No.
No.
Isabella.
Close enough. Okay, that motion
reason you have to do that?
passes unanimously with one abstention.
Yes.
Okay, public comment period. Anybody is welcome to address the commission on any item that is not on tonight's agenda. Anybody wish to do so? If not, we will close that. And with that, we'll go to the public hearing. Before we start, is there anybody that doesn't have a copy of the agenda or wants one or any of the information? We want to make sure everybody has everything they need. I don't see any takers, so I think that that's covered. Okay, I know why we're all here tonight. Has to do with Blue Mountain Minerals, certification of the EIR, conditional use permit, reclamation plan, and 4 items under that. With that, we'll welcome staff report on the project.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senior Planner Adam Paskowski will give that report, but 2 commissioners, I believe, have something to declare before we do that.
Mr. Chairman and Bev,
I disqualify myself from participating in the decision based on Government Code Section 87100 because it is reasonably foreseeable the decision will have a material financial effect on my business due to a business contract with Blue Mountain Minerals.
And Mr. Chairman, and Ms. Shane, staff members, I too must recuse myself due to a personal relationship with the applicant and to avoid all appearances of impropriety.
Okay, thank you. You are excused. With that, we still have a quorum, including Commissioner Latore. It's on the phone, and we'll be able to make, hopefully, a decision tonight. Okay, staff report on the project.
Adam Piskowski, Senior Planner for the Community Resources Agency. Before you tonight is a project by Blue Mountain Minerals, and the project consists of a certification of the Environmental Impact Report for the Blue Mountain Minerals Agricultural Fill Revision Project and its associated entitlements. Conditional Use Permit CUP 13-002 is proposed to amend the 2002 use permit, and that's to expand the existing Blue Mountain Minerals quarry site from 309 acres to 336, and by expanding the 48-acre agricultural fill area by approximately 27 acres to achieve an approximately 75-acre agricultural fill site. The project is zoned AE37 and AE37 AIR, which is exclusive agricultural, 37-acre minimum, airport combining, and O1 AIR, which is open space 1, underneath the Title 17 of the County Ordinance Code. Reclamation Plan RP 13-001 is also proposed to amend the 2002 Reclamation Plan, and that is to revise the mining pit phase-in to allow for more flexibility in mining due to change in market conditions, reconfigure the existing agricultural fill area, revise tree and shrub replacement ratios, and revise the approved revegetation plan. Also, tonight there is several handouts that were given. 3 of them are hard copies of the emails that were received last week and also today. Those letters were, 2 of them were from John Buckley from the Central Sierra Environmental Resource Center, and another one was from Blue Mountain Minerals regarding the letters from CSERC. On the last letter that was received today from CSERC, it stated that that we've worked out a condition with Blue Mountain Minerals last week on Friday that was being negotiated throughout the weekend. And in the recent email that we received, it was specified that CSERC will be okay with the project if this new condition, number condition 17, was part of the project. And we can get into more detail regarding the condition when the time, after everyone speaks and if John Buckley is present to provide additional information, as well as the project applicant. The condition states that the applicant shall implement the project, which is the agricultural fill area, by requiring 5 different steps. What the condition requests is that the total fill height of the agricultural fill area, which is the 2,055 feet, will be placed prior to expanding the agricultural fill as proposed in the conditional use permit and reclamation plan. So once that existing agricultural fill area is filled, then they would go in and remove vegetation and expand that waste pile. However, it also allows them to, if for some reason there's unfeasible, or if there's mine safety issues or geotechnical issues, erosion, sedimentation, or for cultural resources preservation, and also regarding pre-construction activities, it would allow them to expand the agricultural fill area before reaching the height of 2,055 feet on the existing ag fill area. So if there's any questions, staff is available for questions. The consultant, the environmental consultant who prepared the EIR, is also present in the audience. And as well as county council, and I'll leave it open for the project applicant to give a brief presentation.
Okay, any commissioners have questions of staff? John, you have any?
I
Tori?
do, thank you.
Okay.
I was hoping that someone on the staff could summarize for us what the chief differences are between the project as it appears before us tonight and the one we considered last year.
Okay, would you like to do that?
So the project that was approved last year was a mitigated negative declaration, and with that project, in summary, the project description was the same without the EIR. It included the replanting ratios and expanded the agricultural fill area. The main difference between the two is that through the EIR, it also designated 13.5 acres to be preserved for oak woodland mitigation, and it also evaluated alternatives to the project.
That is your question, John?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, any other questions of staff? Commissioner Rye?
I just want to be clear that, so the mitigated neg deck did not include the 13.5 acres, and the EIR does.
Correct.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
Don't see any. Okay, we'll go to the public hearing now. There's a formal public hearing. Those in favor of the project will speak first. Those opposed will speak second. And those who are more or less neutral will speak third. There will be opportunity for rebuttal and surrebuttal for those who have testified prior. And let's see, sometimes we have to set time limits, but let's just see how many folks would like to speak. Would you hold your hand up if you intend to speak this evening? Okay, well, that's just a little bit of a surprise, so I don't think we need too many time limits, but common sense will prevail, and 40-minute dissertations may be legal, but they may not be tolerated. So with that, let's start with those who are in favor of the project are welcome to come to the podium and address the commission. And under state law, you are not required to identify yourself unless you prefer to do so for the archives.
I'm happy to identify myself. I'm Jeffrey Dowdy. I'm the CEO of Blue Mountain Minerals. Chairman Plan, Commissioners, what I'd like to do is spend a few minutes, operative word few there, is detailing a little bit about the project, what's changed, what hasn't changed, essentially adding a little bit more depth and breadth to the comments that have been said earlier. Then I'd like just to reflect a little bit about along the process, and this has been a 5-year process. Last year's project really wasn't last year. It was 2013 when the mitigated negative deck was approved by this commission. So time does fly. But there's just some observations, both positive and negative, that I wanted to share with the public and with the commission. First of all, and with me today is Carrie Hoy, our Vice President and geologist extraordinaire, David Templador, who is our CEQA attorney, Diane Moore, exceptional biologist, and David Claycomb, who has been our EIR consultant. They're here for backup in case some questions come up that are not in my wheelhouse. First, let's look at what hasn't changed. The need to do the project. When you're in the mining business, unfortunately, part of what you actually mine is not valuable. There's not customers for it, and we're no exception to that. So there's a combination of non-limestone and clay that we just can't sell to anybody, and we just need a place to put it, while we focus on what we can sell to folks. So that has not changed at all, and over the course of 5 years, every year, we're getting closer to running out of space in the existing approved ag fill area. The conclusion that the approach we're taking is the best way to do this. It has not changed either from the mitigated neg deck. We've looked at other alternatives, and it's interesting, the EIR process, you formally look at the alternatives. These were alternatives we looked at on an informal basis for the mitigated neg deck. One which we talked quite a bit about was just simply piling the material higher, as high as you could from a geotechnical perspective. And what we came to the conclusion was that would create a permanent, significant visual impact. And we said, boy, that is putting trees ahead of people. And we were uncomfortable with that. And we feel that the approach we're taking makes much more sense than creating a permanent visual impact. The way we're going to implement the project has not changed. The condition 17 brings some more detail on how our approach was going to be all along. From a businessman here, it costs money to take down trees, a significant amount of money. You're not going to do that until you have pretty much maximized to every feasible way what you've already got approved. So the staging of the project makes sense, and we were in discussions with local opposition group. We decided, hey, let's go ahead and put this in context of what our plan has been all along as a way to phase in this project. So let's get the most out of we can out of our current approved facility before we go and spend the money, take down, remove vegetation, and implement another phase. But that phase will be required at some point. That clearly is an important part of our project. What has changed is 13.5 acres of oak woodland put into conservation. It's important, I think, to note that county plans call for, at some point in the very distant future, that the area currently inhabited by Blue Mountain Minerals will be developed. Part of that 13.5 acres is prime developable land. It is part of a very attractive parcel that at some point somebody will probably put a very nice home on. That is truly conservation. Those were oak woodlands that would potentially have been at risk if we didn't do this conservation program. The other point of that is we weren't interested in trying to set or really dangle bait, if you will, for the legal profession to establish new case law, and that would say that a reclamation plan is adequate mitigation for an oak woodland disturbance. As you'll see here in a minute, I spent plenty of money on this project. I was not interested in paying for case law to be determined, much to the dismay of Mr. Templador here, which I'm sure would have argued very eloquently for us. But let's take that off the table by doing the traditional 50% mitigation of the oak woodlands. Some things I'm pleased about in this process is I like our EIR. I think it's very thorough. It's a lot of money, but it's something that I think we could defend in a court of law if required. Now, comments that came in this morning or this afternoon don't look like that is going to be an issue about having to defend this in a court of law. But it was good to know that you've got the heft, if you will, of the paperwork in front of you, gentlemen, regarding if we did need to litigate, that we would prevail. So that was important, and that's something I'm very positive about. The other part is our community support. If you look at the letters that came in, 90% of them were very positive towards the project. I think part of that is everybody's recognized, hey, Blue Mountain Minerals is a great employer, family wages, and we want to keep these guys healthy. I truly appreciate that because I'm part of those wages. And I think the community responded, and that was very encouraging to see. As far as concerns on the project, 5 years is a long time. What I worry about is we're in the mining business. You look out, 5 years is a short time frame to look out. 25 years is appropriate. What I worry about is if there are other improvement projects to this county and somebody can't withstand a 5 year. They have a window that closes in less than 5 years, and they don't do the project. And that's a concern when you've got a long, drawn-out process like this. Next thing that I'm concerned about is the cost. I'm glad everybody's seated down here. Total tally in the last 5 years is $721,540. Think about what that could do in the community. Okay, as we know, we support an awful lot of nonprofits and very great causes in this community. Just think about if we had an extra $150,000 a year over the last 5 years to spread around the community. That would make an impact. What if I had an extra $150,000 a year to do projects on our Blue Mountain site? I'd be paying more wages to my workers, potentially hiring new workers. That money could just be spent a lot better way. If you look at the EIR cost alone, $384,309. That is essentially the cost of not stopping at the mitigated neg deck stage. And, the economists talk about multiplier effects on money. And, $1 given to an employee becomes $3 or $4 in the community. So if you think about not stopping at the mitigated neg deck and doing the EIR, probably had a negative effect on this county's economic activity somewhere between $1.1 and $1.5 million. Because 99% of the money that we've spent goes outside this county. The folks that are here, they're all coming in from outside the county. One vendor, Condor Earth Technologies, was active in this project. It is part of this county. So you lose an awful lot of economic activity through this process. And finally, you look at the process itself and you say, a project like this, a mitigated neg deck ought to stand up. But the way it is right now in a court of law, it's just not as defensible. So you've got to take that next step to the EIR. Of course, we learned this as we went along. Those are just some thoughts I've got, some observations, a little bit more data in detail about the project. And what I'd like to conclude is ask for your support in the approval of this project.
Okay, any questions from the commissioners? Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Baker.
When we met 18 months ago or something, it feels like, there was a lot of market assumptions that were built into this, because obviously the half of this equation is what mix of products the market wants to buy.
Correct.
Right? This much longer down the road, how have those market conditions changed, and how do you see that where your forecasts tend to be right only when you're looking backwards? So,
Jerry, my crystal ball is not any clearer than it was 18 months ago. And that's one of the reasons why you want to implement this project and improve this project is you really don't know what the market is going to give you. Could at some point what I'm currently putting in the outfield become valuable? I would love to think so, but there's no visibility into that right now. Our product mix has changed in the last 6 months, where we've taken on a very large new customer. And so things are very fluid. So unfortunately, the mining business right at this point in time is not one that you can really accurately forecast, much less the end of the year, let alone the end of the decade.
Yeah, Mr. Rye.
As I'm still sort of new, I wasn't here the last time. I'm still struggling a little bit with the heights here, so if you'll help me. The 2135 is the existing height that you're allowed to go to? Is that correct?
Correct. Carrie?
The existing height is 2055.
2055, and the 2135 is in here is?
2135 is the highest point in the proposed project.
Right.
Okay, that helps. And you mentioned the things that you said had not changed, which in essence was the need to do the project, et cetera.
Correct.
Is what's on condition 17 different than what you had proposed? And if so, how?
No, it really hasn't. What we've done is added detail. Buried in the pile of information is a wording to the effect of vegetation removal is done on an as-needed basis. And what condition 17 does is just add more detail to as needed. Recognize as needed can be interpreted in a number of ways. So this way it gives you a little bit more of a roadmap to what as needed constitutes.
So in essence, it's still the same plan?
It is.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to address the commission in favor of the project? Welcome to come forward.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Mike Lemke. I'm a resident of Tuolumne County and also an end product consumer of Blue Mountain Mineral Products. We all depend upon the services paid for by Blue Mountain Mineral, taxes, revenue, and employee salaries. Blue Mountain Minerals is a good community citizen and environmental steward of the land. In my opinion, the CEQA process challenge was an abuse that hurt investment in jobs and local prosperity. It feels like a constant economic threat with no true environmental benefit. I support Blue Mountain Minerals, and I request that you do the same. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Lemke? Not? Thank you very much. Anybody else wish to speak in favor of the project? Okay, that ends that. All right. Anybody like to speak in opposition to the project is welcome to come forward.
Good evening, John Buckley, CSERC, and I could easily have been neutral if certain conditions are applied, but as you have pointed out in the past, I then would have a chance to rebut because there wouldn't be that opportunity. So I'm speaking at this point, but I hope you hear clearly that our center, if condition 17, even though we find many problems with it, as Jeff is fully aware of, if that condition is made part of the approval, our center not only accepts the project as is put forward, but we fully agree to not provide any support for opposition and to withdraw any further opposition related to it. I think it's worthwhile because Jeff took a couple minutes to talk about frustrations. I think it's worthwhile to at least hear another side of the story in terms of the EIR and the process. Again, my name is John Buckley with CSERC and have been involved with this project for the beginning. The last time, before there was a litigation or before there was any challenge, I went and met with Jeff out on the site. He showed me the mine. I had an opportunity to learn about the challenges they faced and the different markets that were driving the new ag fill site. And so I listened and I offered at the office with Jeff to work with the mine to avoid the need for an EIR if there was simply an interest in negotiating and collaborating with our center to try and find a solution. And for reasons that totally are up to the mine, and that's their choice, there was not that interest in continuing to negotiate, and instead there was the lawsuit filed because there was no interest, and it led to the EIR. So I understand that not only was the process delayed by it, but there was a considerable amount of expense. Our center tried our hardest to say we thought there was a solution, and tonight I think is an example of the kind of solution that could have been produced. The other point is that it's disappointing to the mine that there was a need for an EIR and instead a recommendation or a belief that a mitigated neg deck was sufficient. The mitigated neg deck was based upon the belief that 27 acres of oak woodland being buried by a mountain of mining waste for up to a period of 100 years before recovery was just a temporal impact. That's what the mitigated neg deck was saying. It was temporal. And our center and our attorneys believe that no court or very few courts would find that 100 years change before it returned to that level again or longer was a temporal impact, and that there needed to be an EIR because it was a significant impact. Those are where points may be different in terms of perspective. But instead of tonight spending any time criticizing the existing EIR, that's irrelevant if there's the interest in the county and the mine, which I believe there is, in getting this matter resolved and moving forward. All of you received a copy of CSERC's proposed solution more than a week ago. That was one approach that would simply give up any further opposition to the project on our part, even though it would mean the loss of the 27 acres of oak woodland, if the mine would simply be conditioned to first fill up its existing waste fill site simply to the same height as is being proposed by the mine on the directly adjacent 27 acres. So for those that don't easily know all these, the 2055 and the 2135 and other figures, the mine is proposing for 27 acres a height of 2135. And our center, in what got sent out last week, is saying, okay, we asked for a higher level earlier on the existing site. We're past it. Let's go with the same on the existing site as what is being proposed on the 27-acre site, 2135. Okay, that was put forward. After we put that forward, the mine responded positively to our request and drafted up with the county council, drafted up, at least that's what the email said to me, that drafted up condition number 17, which I hope all of you have, condition 17. The challenge with condition 17, just in terms of being as honest as possible, is it has very good language, but it doesn't require or mandate anything. So the first part, the applicant shall be required to place fill within the existing area up to 2055. That's already part of what is, it's already existing. The applicant shall continue to place fill within the existing ag fill area, which permits a total fill height of 2135 for as long as feasible. Well, it permits, it doesn't require it. and as long as feasible, now has the caveats, feasibility shall include, but is not limited to, 5 different things, but it could be more. So the language is very clear. It allows a lot of feasibility judgment by the mine. What our center asked in negotiations with the mine and the county is provide to the county the authority to simply hear the information from the mine as whether or not it's not feasible to go higher and to approve that. And Jeff, in very clear, helping me to understand the mine's position, did not want to have the mine be required to be approved again if they were going to be approved by the commission here, to be approved by basically the Community Resources Director, Bev, at some point in the future. So our center said, okay. Our center also said, okay, we had put in, could there be at least a minimum, not the maximum, but at least a minimum, so we know that the mine actually will move toward what is desired, what the mine commits to say as their intent. But the mine was not interested in a minimum either. That took a lot of time. I talked with our attorneys. I talked with our staff. We accepted that. So tonight, in an effort to move past the often frustrations and difficult polarized feelings that have often been raised around this matter, CSERC agrees to withdraw opposition to the project and the associated CUP and the reclamation plan. Everything that's being requested by the mine, we are willing to accept without opposition if the county simply approves what we believe is weak but a good intended condition 17, because Jeff made it really clear to me that is what he and the mine intend, that they do intend to abide by the good intentions of condition 17. I'd like to see, let's let it happen, because the alternative is that we will end up potentially evaluating first an appeal and then have to understand where the next steps will be. So I often hear emotional criticism about those who won't try to find compromise and solutions. At this time, I would truly hope that everyone is accepting the fact that we are doing what we believe is possible to find that middle ground. If the commission moves to approve the project before you, we simply ask that condition 17 be made a part of that approval as drafted by the mine and the county, and we will agree to withdraw opposition and accept the outcome. Thank you.
Any commissioners have a question for Mr. Buckley? Thank you very much. Anybody else wish to take a opposition position on this project and address the commission? I don't see anybody. We will close that. Anybody who would like to speak neutrally on this matter? Yes, sir.
Tom Parrington, President, Central Sierra Audubon Society. I'm pleased that an acceptable compromise has been worked out, and on behalf of Audubon, I'm pleased. But the reason that our group opposed the original negative declaration, which this county seems to love to do, was its conclusion in the original negative declaration that destruction of 27 acres of oak woodland, which is habitat for lots of species and bird species, will have less than a significant impact regarding the loss of oak woodlands, and our statement was that that cannot stand. And if a full environmental impact report had been done from the beginning, I think that would have been not the conclusion in a full report. But the state law was very clearly, and contrary to what the Blue Mountains Council may have advised, the mitigation proposed for replanting sometime, and it was never specified when, during the long lifetime of this mine, they would mitigate by replanting oak woodland, which is a problematic endeavor. But the state law clearly states that you cannot mitigate by having more than 50% replanting as mitigation. Granted, they're replanting the whole site at some time in the future, but state law was very clear. Mitigation cannot include replanting as more than 50%. They had to do something else, and I'm pleased they finally did the minimum, a 13-acre a dedication of oak woodland that won't be destroyed in the future. So with that, I will say my piece and look forward to a conclusion of this
Okay.
long matter.
Any questions of Mr. Parrington? Mr. Rye?
So you didn't mention condition 17. Would I conclude that you have no
We're-
issue with it?
Well, I'm not pleased that it's as weak as it is, but if it's acceptable to CSERC, I'm not going to be a litigant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wish to speak neutrally? Yes, sir.
My name is Ron Pickup. I'm a Soulsbyville resident. I'd just like to point out with the drought, how many trees are dying in the county. We're losing a great many pines and cedars. And now the next one to go is the oaks. So it's very, very important to save as many oaks as we possibly can. I'm very glad that at least 13 acres of this 48 acres mitigation is going to take place. I also serve on the board of the Tuolumne County Land Trust, and we hold conservation easements for mitigated land. And if you could keep us in mind for this 13 acres, we could possibly work that out with you as a holding facility. Thank you very much.
All right, any questions, Mr. Pickup? Thank you, sir. Anybody else wish to speak neutrally? If not, we close that section. And now there is the opportunity for rebuttal and surrebuttal if the proponent cares to make a rebuttal. If not, then there's no surrebuttal, and with that, this public hearing is closed. And we bring the matter back to the commission for action or discussion at your will. Pretty quiet tonight.
I think
How about a motion then? We can debate the motion.
I think it's I find the presentation quite clear. So I don't think we necessarily. I don't necessarily need much more discussion.
Nor do I.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
I move that we certify the environmental impact report. Do I need all these numbers? State clearinghouse, blah blah blah.
No, you don't have to state all those.
If you just say, based on findings A through G.
Yeah.
Based on findings A through G. And the amendment of the new conditional use permit 13-002 to amend use permit 02 CUP-56. And the reclamation plan RP 13-001 to amend reclamation plan 02 REC-01 based on A through D.
And
Yes.
does that include the new condition 17?
Good point.
So it'll be based, just to clarify the motion, that the conditional use permit is based on findings A through F and subject to conditions 1 through 17, and 17 as proposed by staff. And then the reclamation plan is based on findings A through D and subject to conditions 1 through 17.
That's exactly what you meant.
That's exactly what he meant.
That's how I.
And I will second that.
That's how I heard it.
No, that's
Oh,
great.
yeah, well, you're right. Yeah, you're
Second.
right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Commissioners? Mr. Latore?
I'm here. I have no questions.
Okay, with no questions, I'll call the question.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Oh, geez. You guys throw something different at me, and I did it.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, on the vote, Commissioner Frazier has recused herself. Commissioner Prezzabilla recused himself as well. That leaves the 4 other commissioners who are present to vote. Commissioner Latore,
I vote yes.
Commissioner Rye,
Yes.
Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Chairman Pland.
Aye.
Let the record reflect that there were 4 votes in favor and, again, 2 recusals. So the
All right.
motion does pass.
Okay, I declare the motion passed, and With that, we don't have any other business tonight, do we?
No, we don't.
Yeah. Okay, very good. I think we had a good discussion, and with that, we'll close the meeting.